Hello, I'm Chuck at Span Hardware and Equipment, Winfield, Alabama. So happy to be with you today and would like to tell you about all the things we have for the upcoming spring season. We've got you covered if you want chainsaws, weed trimmers, lawnmowers, zero-turn regular lawn tractors. We also have a good selection of barbecue grills, so come see us. Thank you.
State Bank and Trust has been invested in Winfield and Marion County for more than a century, and today we remain deeply committed to meeting the needs of local families and businesses with excellent financial products and friendly down-home service.
But more than that, we're dedicated to supporting the growth, success, and well-being of our community as a whole. Because when it comes right down to it, there's nothing more important than community.
And just like our outstanding city officials, police, and fire departments, you can count on State Bank and Trust to help make Winfield and Marion County a great place to live for everyone who calls this area home.
We walked too far, you got to say, George, supposed to go. Just go wait for that. That's right. Father, Lord, we start off by thanking you for this day. Lord, we thank you for all the many blessings. Bless us with. We thank you for each and every one here tonight. We thank you for our families. And we pray for each other. And we just continue to pray for this city, our city. And we pray for our country. We pray for this world. Seems like in such turmoil at this time. We continue to know that you're in control. And we just, whatever we do tonight will be pleasing to you. And we ask forgiveness of our sins before we fail. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the March 15, 2022 Winfield City Council meeting. First item on the agenda is approve the council minutes from the March 3rd, 2022 council meeting. Nobody's got a comment or a question how those minutes have been written. We need to ask for a motion to approve. All in favor? You good, James? Next item on the agenda is the results of the public hearing for alcohol license. We had a public hearing today at 5 o'clock. Had great support for this. I need to ask, based on the results of that public hearing, I need to ask to pass resolution number 1309 for liquor license for the Winfield Package Store. Which I gave the address a while ago. It's going to be at 7016 State Highway 129, Suite B. We need to act on the probably separate on each one of those. So I need to ask for a motion for resolution 1309 to allow the sale of the package store. All in favor? All right. Next item on the agenda is B to the second top part of resolution 1310, beer or wine at the Winfield Mart Incorporated. The address of that being 7016 State Highway 129. Previously known token truck stop at exit 30 off I-22. I need to ask for a motion to pass that resolution number 1310. Keith made a motion to second. Gina, all in favor? The next item on that, I guess, alcohol licenses, but we're asking to add one more board member to that alcohol committee board. That will put your total members up in how many?
It'll
back up to 5 members with 2 liaisons for the police chief and the city clerk.
You had a member,
Steve Martin.
resigned, we had a board member step off, on being on that board, and they were asking to replace it with another board member. We've got a recommendation for that board position.
Judy Osborne.
Judy Osborne, they asked Judy Osborne to serve as a board member on the alcohol committee. There's no comment or any discussion about it. I need to ask for a motion to allow Judy Osborne to serve on the alcohol committee. Second. All in favor? Next item on the agenda is accept tourism grant, resolution number 1311. You got it? Is it? This grant, through the pastime.
This is the tourism grant that we'll use with the chamber to help pay for. In the past, we've paid for advertising or porta-johns, just whatever they have had the need for.
But it will be used in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, it's $2,600. We'll get it in 2 installments.
We've got this in the past.
We've got it several times in the past.
I need, there's no match, well, this goes along with what we're already spending. It's I call it more or less a donation. I mean, it is a grant, but it's not like a matching type grant. I would not be a tourism grant. I need to ask for a motion to pass that resolution number 1311. Tim, ask for seconds. All in favor? All right. The next item on the agenda is resolution number 1308, emergency red light repair. I guess this is going to be the traffic, main intersection traffic light, Taylor.
No, he just doesn't have it with him.
I don't have the resolution with me, but we need to go ahead and adopt that.
Yeah. Well, we can proceed with waiting another 22 weeks. Need to ask for motion to pass this resolution 1308 for the emergency. We discussed this last council meeting.
Yes. So moved.
Second, James, all in favor? No, it's going to be that fine.
There'll be
Traffic lights.
it's for the traffic light, but the street lights will probably get done before the traffic.
Next item on the agenda is hire a part-time senior program aide. We got Chris going to speak on that part.
Thank you, Mayor. We interviewed 4 applicants for this job, and we would like to recommend to the council that Ms. Doris Sanderson be hired for the position of senior aide. She has 12 years in the food service industry and comes well recommended, and that we would hire her in at the pay scale that y'all set forth.
She's not here tonight, is
She's right here in front of me.
she? I wasn't there anyway. Based on that recommendation, I need to ask the council to make for a motion and a second to hire Joyce Sanderson in that position. All in favor? All right, glad to have you on with us, Joyce. The next item on the agenda is the volunteer fire pay.
Well, did he say something about we needed to decide the pay for him?
I think we've already set that pay.
Oh,
We
we
set
already
that
said
pay
that,
last
okay,
time.
I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we did it, he said based on what.
Okay, so, okay.
The next item on the agenda is volunteer fire pay. Gina asked that we put this on here. She had a little bit of concern, I think maybe as speaking with Alan and different ones at the fire department about volunteers. I guess, responding to calls and lack of thereof or whatever, but I'll let Gina ask for that to be on there. I'll let Gina, if you will, kind of go into detail what you want to do there.
Right now, as it stands, the breakdown is, and I know volunteer, it's a volunteer department, but we give each volunteer $10 if they respond to a grass fire, $30 for a structure fire. And then they have 2 drills a month, of which usually they only, it's not mandatory, but they're asked to go to at least 1 drill a month. And then it's $15 per drill. And I just think it's been kind of, the numbers that have actually been coming out has kind of gotten a little low. We still have several on the volunteer list, and I think we also, I have gotten something else that we do for them is we have a cancer policy. Is that right, Angie?
Mm-hmm.
That we do pay also. On that, it's 14. Right. No.
That's mandated about several laws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's, that is something that we do also, but
I don't know if the volunteers are mandated. I think they were optional. I could look that back up.
It's optional, and it all depends on whether the volunteer is a certified volunteer for the state.
Well, I have some that are non-certified and some that are certified, but I think the volunteer part was optional, and we did.
But, I don't know, I checked around with some other departments, and some places don't pay their volunteers anything, but then I had come across one department that they do not, they don't pay for, if they go out to a scene, that they pay more per drill. So it kind of balances out, kind of thing. So I would just like to see the council would.
I guess you're here on behalf of Alan.
Yes.
Kind of give us a like update, kind of how your how the volunteers are responding to calls. Is it, have they slacked off more since the fuel and gas the way it is, or have
Yeah,
you
before that. Look, I mean, anything that you can give the volunteers is great, because that's what it's always been, is to replace the fuel that they lost coming in there. I mean, there wasn't nothing that was going to break the bank trying to get. But it's the volunteer part of it is not just affecting Winfield, Alabama. This is a national crisis that is affecting everybody throughout the states. Yeah, we know that's why we came to, I think it was a year or 2 ago, with the drill pay to try to increase the number of volunteers showing for drill, because that affects our training hours, which in turn affects the ISO score. So we started trying to get that idea. It helps some. We got our few dedicated ones that's been there for, you got someone like Craig Cole's been there for how long? A while. But you still got, good response on him. He's going to show up. You still got the ones like John. But you're going to still have some that get on and they'll want the t-shirt, want the tag, and you may never see them again.
I thought that I remember us discussing that before, that we seem like that's a lot of reason why some of them do sign up and be a volunteer.
It is, and we don't pay them for medical calls unless it is a second or third one, which tends to happen more lately than not. But if they were just there and they showed up when we had one, we ain't been paying them. And I think some of them said they weren't going to show up because of that. Each person's reason is going to be different with the volunteer part of it. I don't have time. You got the ones that are at work. I got a ball game. But the ones that do show up, if you raised up, anything you raised it up would help them, especially the way the fuel's getting up right now.
Well, and also, like, I had talked to a couple, and of course they said, I don't know if this was true for all of them, but, one, they like to go to the structure fires because it's more, I'm not going to say more fun, because house fires not fun, but yes. Whereas the grass fires sometimes are more work, because you're out there having to dig ditches and things like that, so you don't have as many people that want to show up for those.
it's more work.
Yeah.
Both of them are more work right now
Well, it's
because
more
we
work
don't
than
have them
everybody.
showing up.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take Pirates Den, for example, when it burned. We had 4 volunteers there that night. Everything else was your career guys that showed up, and that was a lot. I mean, we depend on them more than what most people realize. I mean, any idea that y'all have like this to raise it up to get more of them, I'm all for it.
I think y'all still having more show up for the drills than y'all are for the.
Well, we used to, and then it comes in spurts. If you can, like I've done in the past, bluff them to make them think that they ain't gonna be on there no more. If they don't show up, then I can get them there for a month or two and get things done, and then you slack back off.
How many volunteers do you have?
There is about 25, maybe 20, maybe less than 20. I know we fall below that number for the forestry with that every year, so it's 7. At one time we had it, you're supposed to have like 7 volunteers per full-time guy, so I think we're supposed to have like 40 volunteers, somewhere around the 20, 25-ish mark.
And on average, you've got how many that responds to, say, brush fire and structure fire?
Depends on the time of the day and what the day is. I've seen it to where they've...
In the middle of the day at 11:30.
Oh, maybe 2. Daytime is just, it's John Wayne time, as they say. Everything I mean, it's a volunteer. They're at work during the day. It's just us.
We paying for turnout gear for the volunteers.
Yes, now I know we ain't got none in a while, but we pay for volunteers. Volunteers have not paid for turnout since, when was you on last?
I hate to say it, Jay Bird.
Yeah.
That's how long ago it's been.
That was just
I didn't
because,
pay for it on them.
you know, and I think they did during Keith, because that was something with Butler and Keith and all them that they just had a feud going
I
on.
think he was ordering ones that they didn't like.
Yeah.
So they started.
They did some fundraisers and bought their own.
Yeah.
Since then, volunteers have not bought turnout gear, and whenever.
When Keith was there, we turned our money that they paid us to respond, we
Yes.
turned all our money in, we bought our turnout gear.
I almost say that's the last time that's happened.
Turnout gear, what's it average?
It all depends what you get. The Viking that we're going with right now, which is consensus the best out there that we like, $2,000 a set. That's no set. That's just pants and a coat. Your hood's $100. Boots run anywhere from $250 to $500. The helmet's the same way.
How long is that turnout gear good for?
Turnout gear, according to NFPA standards, which is what we have to go by, has a shelf life of 10 years. Now, some of the hoods that's come out now, is cancer related, they're good for 10 washings. And then if you have any type of degradation or any type of wear and tear on the turnout gear, it becomes inoperable and you have to put it up. You either got the choice of sending it off to somebody to get fixed, turn the insurance claim like I've had to do 5 or 6 times, or buy a new set. And a lot of times it's cheaper just to buy a new set. So a volunteer can usually make them, I said, last for the 5 to 10 year mark, compared with some of us career guys are not going to make it last the 5 years. It all depends on how much it gets used. If it gets any diesel fuel on it, you've got to chunk it. Any gas. And there's just standards that we have to go by. And that's a whole list of stuff that can make the turnout gear push away.
Pay from head to toe, everything in between 28 and 3,200.
Yeah.
I know a couple of weeks ago, I went on a grass fire, and it was at night. And I think it ended up being about an acre, and there was only 2 volunteers that showed up. It was like 8 o'clock at night.
Well, was at the same night as was having the wrecks and the 15 other ones throughout the day. Yeah, I think that was just the time of night. I just wouldn't make it out for another one because we had halfway decent participation in the big ones during the day. I remember I was up there, James Butler in his place, and that was huge, and we had enough there to spread out a little bit. But it all depends on the time of the day, and it depends on the person.
There's different levels of training for volunteers. I mean, you got different.
So through the state of Alabama, you have a certified volunteer firefighter that they can seek through, which on a basis we're teaching that every 2-3 years. We just finished one up in January, at the end of January. It's February the 3rd. That's when they took their final state test. That per se makes them a certified volunteer in the state's eyes. They get training at drill night, if they show up, just depending on what we have to cover. There's certain subjects we have to cover according to ISO. So we cover them, that way we can get our training hours the best we can. Then there's certain subjects that we have to cover just because of what we do and what we cover. Like, before, I think one night, we got some cards and stuff from you and was teaching a class, not a bunch of our volunteers in there, to where that's what we did for 3 or 4 hours. It was nothing but cut cars. That way, if it isn't a tense one to where it's going to take an extended education time, so 30+ minutes, we can pass stuff off to them. Here, you start cutting here while you can let yourself rest. It all just depends on what time of year it is and what we hit. Usually with the training, I try my best not to put the volunteers in a lot of turnout gear and a lot of heat with fire or anything during the summer months. I try to save it for in the winter and then late in the fall to where it's a little cooler. Most times stuff we're doing during the summer months, the force entry door we got a few years back on the grant. We'll get out there and practice on forcing doors. It might be sitting inside like this past Tuesday night drill, I taught CPR class. That's what we did. So we could have keeping everybody on a 2-year cycle, keeping their CPR up. It just depends on where we're at in the year and what they get. But there's opportunities out there for them to do whatever they want to with it. It depends on how far the person wants to take it.
How many do we have that are certified?
Certified volunteers to the state. Now, maybe 7. At one time, this was right before I got hired, we was about 96% as far as certified volunteers. And that's dropped off because one, we've either hired them or they've just hung it up and was done with it. That certified volunteer is, we try to host one, and I do my best to get as many we can in there, but that's something you start with 15, you're going to finish with 7.
Is there an age requirement before somebody can be a volunteer fireman?
18.
18.
And I think that's the insurance part of it. That's usually what we go on.
21 to drive.
Yes, it's 21 to drive and 18 to be on.
Any more questions for me? Is y'all got, how often do you get maybe somebody that's asked to be you got an application process to go through for it?
We do. One that forever we've done the paper applications, but just recently I was able to create an application on Google Docs and put it to Facebook to try to reach the younger kids, because every kid out there is doing this number right here. And I've got maybe 3 responses in the last week, and the average age is 63. So I still can't get no younger ones up there. I don't know. They ain't beating down the door.
So if somebody comes in tomorrow and be a volunteer fireman and they meet the criteria for his age, that's the number 1 criteria is age.
They put the application out, that way we can see who it is, and we can find out kind of a little bit about them before we just put them on. Because you don't want to put anybody on. Because we do hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we don't want the black eye out there of somebody who's not going to act professionally out there.
They go through the application process and you hire them. How soon do you put them in turnout gear?
They'll get a set right away. It's just, they might have it on, but like, when you're saying how soon you put them in turn gear, how soon do you put them in fire?
No, how soon do the city spend that $2,250?
Well, they go upstairs and get a set of gear that fits them, and that's what they're wearing. So we don't buy a new set for every volunteer we have.
We already have some.
Yeah, we have sets that we keep that where I think Alice said we're getting low on those, but we got sets upstairs that generally fit somebody that we go upstairs and they get. We keep a certain amount of boots, certain sizes boots, pants, coats, and then some of the cheaper, greater hoods up there on hand, because you do go through volunteers like a lot of times like a hot knife through butter, that if you spent $2,200 every time a new volunteer walked through the door, you'd be bankrupt really quick.
Do they have to sign for those turnouts, and they're responsible for them?
Yes.
If they lose them?
Yes. If it's still the same way, I ain't dealt with getting the volunteers gear in a long time. But if like it was when I got on there, you signed a paper that said you're responsible for that gear, you'll maintain so many calls showed up to per year, and you'll attend X amount of number of drills per year. Now, whether it's the same way or not, I don't know. Alan and Dwayne deal with the paperwork part of it. I just deal with trying to train them and get them to drill.
How many hours a month you have to train?
According to ISO,
16.
16 hours in the classroom. You have to have 18 hours a year on the drill field. That's per firefighter. They don't look at it full-time volunteer. You're just a firefighter.
Has that just increased from 8 hours a month?
What do you mean?
One time it was 8 hours a month.
Oh yeah, they've increased that. There's a whole nother list. You've got 16 hours a month in the classroom, 18 hours a year on the drill field. I have to give them 6 hours of hazmat training a year. If they drive, then if they're brand new, they have to have 20 hours of driver training. If they're not, then you have to have at least 12. And then that's not on top of the other stuff that we have to have and have to keep up what we got as well. But, I mean, if we can get 6 hours out of them a month, then we're doing good. Because it's hard to ask a volunteer to be there for 16 hours a month. You'd have to have them there for every Monday night, plus every Tuesday night, and hound them, and then you'd lose everything you got. We tried to switch it up and went to a online training program right at the start of COVID. It worked out good for maybe the first 4 months, and then yeah.
Are they required to live inside city limits?
No. I would say no, because I wouldn't when I first got on.
But it's within a distance?
Within a distance. And I think it all depends on who it is and how far the distance is.
Does the amount of volunteer firemen we have affect our ISO rating?
Yes.
Is that hurting us now where we're at for how many volunteers we have?
Yes, it's hurting everybody. Dad's been dealing with them in Brilliant for the past 2 weeks, and I've been helping him, and it's hit them. You have to show so many firemen on scene, and it's an unrealistic number. And the only people that's getting it is Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Florence.
You've got a house full time.
Yeah. It's an unrealistic
That
number.
rolls out 2 or 3 trucks on the house fire.
Yes. I think ours is like 18 firemen on scene, and we think it's a good day if we get 8. So, that's including us. If I had a magic wand that I could fix the volunteer system in the country, I'd wave it right now. That way we'd have more help. But And most of the thoughts that we have, Alan gives us free range to try to bring them in. And I've tried a bunch. Different ideas, new ideas, and
That seems to be the problem, is the motivation to get more members.
I think it's like everything.
It's
You
like
make it
everything.
work more than everybody want to work, they don't let it used to.
Well, something that I was thinking, I mean, there's some figures that, as far as the, right now the grass fire is 10, and maybe considering 20 or 25, and the structure, and now it's 30, 40, 45, and possibly wood drill like it is. Because they could potentially have up to 2 drills a month. I know they asked them to come in one. But
You raise it up, everybody starts showing up for drills. Said you raise that one up, everybody gonna start showing up for the drills.
I would just like to see more people show up.
If they don't just come to real thing, don't go to the fire.
You know, try to follow the money and stuff.
see, now you'll sound like me when I'm trying to figure this out.
I mean, I can't, gotta be some stipulations put in there.
I think they know where to be, if you know, if they don't attend to so many calls, they don't, the amount of drill pay can be affected by how many calls they attend to on a regular basis.
Now, we did do it with the online stuff, it was withholding drill pay if they didn't do their online classes. And then they just said, okay, I don't care, and they didn't ever show up, or didn't ever do it. I mean, because I've been the same way. I'm not gonna have much sympathy for you, to you. If you're gonna elect to do something, then you do it to the fullest of your ability. You don't halfway do it. So me and the volunteers don't see eye to eye most days.
What time are they paid for it? I don't know.
Yeah, we do.
First of the month.
There ain't too many people on there,
No.
There's been many on there here lately.
Which, are you in a 160 right now, or are you gonna?
No, we just finished it up, February the 3rd is when we finished the hazmat portion up. We had 2 volunteers in it, and y'all just hired one of them. And the other, we got the other one.
What I was wondering is talking about training pay, if you could incentivize them to go through the 160.
That'd be great, you could, but it's a lot of overtaking. It's usually a 2 to 3 year cycle on it, because like with us having 2 in school right now, as soon as they get out, we've got 3 classes on the books for this year just to get them certified up to where they need to be for us.
Now, to the drills, you have 2 drills a month. Are they the same drills?
No,
Okay. So
each night is different.
Okay.
If you did the same drill on twice a month, it's the same subject you covered, you would never get anywhere close to what you got to cover.
Okay, so it is 2 different, that's what I was wondering, if it's the same drill, there's no point in going to both. Like if you had the option to go to this one or this one, if it's the same drill,
Right.
it's 2 different.
It's different, yeah, it's got to be. And most time you work it out to where if the first Monday of the month you do pump operations, the 3rd Monday is probably going to be fire hose. That way, the next month it's going to be like fire streams. You've got to build off one another, because you can't bounce around. Just say, all right, we just covered pumper stuff, how to run the pump for the same Monday night in March. Then April we're going to talk about different types of hoses and different ways to stretch them out. And then in May we're going to spray. I would never be able to get to the point, which is usually around November, of getting the new guys and the older ones inside the burn trailer to fight fire. Because before they can get into there, I've got to have them trained to certain standards set forth by NFPA 1001, which is their firefighter standard. Certain subjects you have to meet before you get into fire. That's why they're set up like that, and they've got to be different.
have you prior to this, I know Alan, Jimmy kind of, he didn't, I think we were surprised a little bit about doing this for us. And I don't think of course, he wouldn't able to be here tonight. You think that this, it would pay for you and him and Dwayne maybe to have a discussion of how the structure needs to be to maybe try to get more volunteer firemen? I think instead of us trying to just vote to put money at it, or I feel like that y'all need to be honest and tell us whether or not this amount of money is going to make a difference or not.
Honestly, and see, this is where I'm at with it. I don't want to say, no, it's not going to make a difference because it's going to hurt the ones that you can rely on, that you have relied on for 20 plus years. Do I honestly think it's going to make a difference on getting some of them there? No, because I think people are lazy.
Well, I agree with that. I wonder if you kind of how you spoke a little bit on what you're doing for the campaign, trying to get more people involved to do it. Do we need to try to maybe aid y'all in that way to try to have a bigger campaign to get more volunteers to be?
Oh yeah, any help to get more volunteers would be great. I mean, one thing I know we've discussed in the past, and it's just been us discussing back and forth on whether we can get anything to it, is there is a program through the Alabama Fire College that we can go into schools and one of the classes that will be taken throughout the year or throughout like their junior or senior year is the volunteer firefighter. That way when they come out, they're a certified volunteer and they have that in their pocket to continue on in this career field or just stay around here as a volunteer. That's the one thing we've been discussing. We just don't know whether we could get how well it would work out and what type of finances involved in going into that. There's lots of things we've talked about. We talked about the volunteer application on the Facebook for a while before we actually done it.
Kind of like the whole industry with it. I mean, it's like restaurant, you can't get people to work in a restaurant, you can't get,
It's a national thing.
It is on everything. Work, it's like you said, lazy, it's just period, just nobody wants to.
Yes, and it did.
The ones that will work killing themselves trying to
And with this,
satisfy the needs of the man.
I tell you one thing, it might be a possibility, this worked in other instances, is getting with Bevel State and ask them to do a dual enrollment, and you could have the classes at the fire station. Your instructor would be covered.
well, it couldn't go through Bevel State.
Pardon?
I don't know how that would work Bevel State because us teaching would have to go to the fire college.
No. Not on a dual enrollment.
That part, but Bevel State won't have. I know what you're saying because they got the dual enrollment, and we could dual enrollment to where instead of going to Bevel, their class could be coming here to take it. Yes, and that's sort of what they've got with the college. I don't think it's the dual enrollment thing, but I don't know as much with it. I know it's an option out there. I know that I can make a phone call and have as much information as I possibly could within a day or two.
I'd make that phone call.
If the man saw the council meeting right now, he'd probably drive from Athens and be banging on our door.
You're not listening to what I'm telling you. There's a class running right now that Bevel State does not pay the instructor. And you should be able to get through the fire college an allowance to let you do that.
It should, yes.
That should not be a problem because, like you said, everybody's got the same issue. I'm just look into it.
Oh, I mean, I'll call, which will be our regional one coordinator. That's who I always call. Anyways, and our coordinator, Danny Sutherland, he retired as fire chief from Athens about 10, 12 years ago. That's who I usually answer to when I'm running them props, like the hazmat thing we had. He's how get them or any other classes that we set up, we go through him. I set them up online, he approves them, and we go to teach them.
And then you've been basically doing the same thing with this, if you be hands-on.
Yes.
You can talk him into it and get it set up, and the model that is set up works, then they can take that model statewide.
They're happy.
Huh?
They're happy.
Yeah.
It's already getting used. It's in Marion Military Institute. It's over in Cherokee County. A lot of your smaller counties out to the east of the state are doing this. In the north, in part of the north, there's all the technical part of it. Double Springs, the Winston technical, at one point in time, I believe they was doing it.
A lot of states is behind them up there.
It's getting done, and some of these are, I think they're getting fair results to where some of them are going. I believe it was John David's class that just recently graduated. They had 3 that went through that program. Those at the Marion Military Institute that went straight to recruit school because they enjoyed it so much they went into it and made a career. But back to what you were saying, I mean, anything with the help, but I don't believe per se the money is going to change the people beating down our doors to show up.
Any other comment, or y'all want to kind of study on how to set this pay, or if we're going to increase the pay, or what we're going to need to do to try to encourage more volunteers? Have you got anything in mind that you want? You had some numbers in mind, you said earlier.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying, which I know he's probably correct. Some of them, it's not gonna make a difference, because some of them haven't been on a call, I'm sure, in a while, and this is not gonna, but those that do come, you know, and there may be a few out there that it might encourage to help out, because
I think we need to make some guidelines on it.
Well, when we talk, that's like, you know, when we're talking about getting the firefighter tags and all this, if they sign up and get what they need to do, what they want to do, and then they don't show back up, it needs to be where we can, there'll be consequences and you're not being allowed to get what you were set out to get. You know, put a stop to it. We could do that, but I feel like that's going to be a start for us. Getting the ones that's on, that's not doing their part. If we take away what they've signed up for to start with, I think we need to. It's like when you got people that do show up, that I think that they need to be, that we need to acknowledge that they've been there for 20 odd years. I agree with that, and I think the ones that's just signing up just to get different perks out of them signing up, they need to lose those perks if they're not going to be a team player and be there when we need them. I mean, I think there needs to be consequences and requirements to keep. You probably got, once they set up to get to just use it, just for example, using the tag, firefighter tag, once they're set up, they're always there, right?
Well, we update the roster. It gets updated. Can get updated every month at the association meeting to the forestry. It just, you how long of a chance.
You would have some ideas of kind of how to help stop the abuse of just using the volunteer part of it to get what they want.
How long a period does a new recruit have to wait before they're eligible for a tag?
Depends on how.
I mean, when their time's up for renewal, I assume, just as soon as they can renew it, or?
Yeah. Most of them don't go take off right then and get a tag. It's when they go renew it.
Might put a year grace period on that.
And it's not really worth it. I mean, it don't really take off any money towards it. It's just you've got a fancy tag that says firefighter.
People do it for that, though.
I know.
I mean, once you get that tag, do you have to take anything on the renewal to get your tag, to keep that tag?
A long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, we do it every year.
Yeah.
This is a regular tag, it's just a firefighter's tag.
Do you have to show anything when you renew it that you're still?
When I was on
Not
it,
no more.
we had to get a sheet of paper.
Yeah, at one time you had to have a sheet of paper signed by chief, but now, the forestry gets sent into it, and then once they get the bugs worked out in the system, the fire college is gonna control it to where it can be changed on a daily basis. But most times it's the forestry, and they have, each month you have the association meeting, it can get changed, marked off, somebody added, somebody taken off. But then you got to, once you get it, and like, I'll take myself for example, they changed the career tags 2 years ago, year and a half ago. I renewed mine online, so they sent me a sticker, and I still ain't got one of the other tags. You can renew it online and just keep your same tag for as long as you want to, because they're just gonna send you a sticker. And then once you get somebody's shirt, it's kind of hard to track them down and say, I want my shirt back.
Thoughts?
Eddie and Keith get with them and just compare notes and compile everything before we do anything at all. Y'all get the numbers of who's coming, who's not coming, why they're not coming, what you can do to increase it. And by all means, we don't want to do anything that's going to penalize the people that do show up and been showing up for the last 20 years. I mean, I hate to say giving people benefits when they're not doing any work with them. I sure can't say get paid to come to training and not show up at the fire. And you always do pay on a scale, number of years and number of fires you've attended. When you reach a certain goal, that's how much you get paid per fire.
They still gotta get certified every year to stay on. They still have to have them hours to stay on. They don't. Maybe they need to.
Well, that's
So we had a vehicle fire yesterday, we had 2 volunteers.
What time?
4:30. It's at that time frame.
Y'all log them in when they show up?
Yeah,
We also,
they get put on the report, that way you can go back and that's how you know how to pay them.
and you know who showed, I mean, you keep it with who's at drill too.
Yes, I have to.
You have to turn that in.
That's how I keep up with the hours.
And you don't make drill mandatory. I shouldn't say mandatory, but you encourage them to come to drill.
It's encouraged.
You really want them to come to
Yes.
learn.
Yes.
That's,
Yeah. Almost like you on a truck and you took it to a mechanic and he's got his apprentice here, but he's like, I'm gonna let him work on it. He shows up once every 3 months. How you gonna feel? Same concept. The more they're there, the more they're learning, the better they're gonna be.
Somebody there who knows what they're doing. Well, and maybe it could be, keeping up with, if they come to 0 drills, then, because this is something like they get encouraged to come to drill, so if they do come to drill, they get an X amount. If they come to 1 drill or 2 drills, they get X amount, to encourage them to come to drill.
I believe that once you go and look at this Hamilton, it's the quarterly drill. You get paid quarterly. You don't get paid per calls. This is how much you get quarterly if you make X amount of drills or X amount of calls. I ain't really ever sitting down with Frank and seeing how they pay with it, because he generally has the same problem too.
Yeah,
Showing up.
I had spoke to somebody there, and they don't get paid for calls, it's drills, and it's per drill, and they get 2 drills a month. And that was my question to them. I said, well, then how do you make sure, how do you get people to come to calls they don't, if you pay them for drills.
Drills.
Yeah, because you're gonna go to drills. and
Yeah,
calls.
I'll tell you, because I was up there when they had one last month, and they had about the same results we did. There was 5 of them, 4 of them.
They came to drill.
Yes. So. I mean, they got opportunities. Next month in April, the burn trailer, one of the burn trailers at the college is going to be stationed in Hamilton. They know that it's there for them to use. They know they can ride with me because I've got to go run it. So they know they got the opportunities to go get into something and get different training. That's a week long of stuff. That's fun. You know, it's not like it's, I got to stay at the classroom, it's fun. But it's getting harder to get people to come do the fun stuff.
Fun and hot.
Fun and hot.
Know what you want to do, table it and come back?
I want to do something that's going to get them there, because we need more volunteers to show up, to actually show up for the calls. Well, of course, do the drills, but for sure show up for the calls.
What we can do it, table it, come bring it back up for further discussion, kind of do with Alan and see if we can come up with a plan and maybe take care of who we got and try to encourage others to be part of it. That's what we'll do. Bring it back up on the next council. Next item on the agenda is old business. We'll start with James. James, you got any old business? Eddie, Keith.
We were supposed to get measurements for that, the air purifier. Do you think we got those?
I do. I had them, Brad Burrows measured this afternoon for us. And he actually called and said to check the PD's total square footage, because he thought he had miscalculated, so we need to re-add that one. That is here in the community shelter. Did you bring yours? Do you have yours?
I had it highlighted on the last paperwork that I sent. I'm sorry, I need to bring mine.
I may have it then.
Yeah, you may have which ones I need.
What about, Gina, what about the park?
I didn't bring it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
but you have yours.
I haven't learned. I can text you which sizes tomorrow, or are you wanting me to order?
I was fixing to say, I need to get all these measurements to you.
Yeah,
I can email these to you.
I have the consultant I was with, I've got a new consultant now, and he's the one that I begged to beg for discounts, but he tried, but he said they won't allow all the discounts until you order 10 or more units. But I'm working on him with the shipping discount, and that's gonna kind of be until I can tell him how many we're gonna get.
And is that with the same company that we had the paperwork on last time?
Yes.
So
Anybody else in the United States build a similar machine?
Yes, and I did compare the prices, and I can do it again. When I was looking at them, just, you know, for what I wanted, that
In fact, I'm
was,
gonna ask them if they give discounts, I'm gonna ask for a price, just ask for a discount.
okay,
If they say they give discounts, you tell these other people that they're gonna give you a discount.
right. The last time I did the research on it, this was the best qualified company and pricing, and the reviews, you know, and I talked to even some people that have the units in there that they used, and,
how many were you getting?
also, I was comparing like the maintenance pricing. Their maintenance pricing was a lot better than some of the other companies, because you will have to change those, you know, filters every so often, and I have that in the last paperwork. I've got all that wrote down, how often we have, like one filter is like a monthly change, but it's not very expensive, but then your main HEPA filter is like once every 3 to 5 years, I can't remember.
It's gonna be way out there.
And it's like $200 for those, but it's like every 5 to 7 years.
A lot of them have like 3 different filters.
This one has two, these have 2.
Just a HEPA and a free.
Mhm. And the filters come in like packs of 12, and I think they were only like $8 for like a pack of 12 for the ones that have to be changed a little more often. But then your larger, the HEPA filters are like about, I think you said $235, and those are every 5 and 7 years. Depending on how often it's running, like one that doesn't run constantly, they said, you know, you wouldn't have to change that one as often. That's why they give you that range. But the ones that you are going to be, you know, that run more, then you might want to do it more on the 5-year, you know, changeover. It is going to be.
How many did you want for the lottery?
I need 2, one for the main area and then the smaller one for the conference room.
And then, you know, 2 for the park.
Yes.
So that's 9.
Oh, well. See, at that point when I talked to him, I wasn't sure how many the city wanted to get.
Garden range.
Well, that's 9. I'm sure we could go ahead and get one more.
We could put one in. I can see what the discounts will be, and then I've got a few more companies that I can check back with again to make sure that the pricing is still, you know, within the range. But I went with this company due to the, you know, the reputation, the reviews, the quality of the machine. They're in this one has more like schools that use them and hospitals. I found where they showed how many, you know, were in schools and hospitals, and this one was the leading brand in the schools and hospitals. But yeah, I can call him back tomorrow and tell him that we're looking at 10 now and see what they can do with the quotes on those. I know it'll come down, because that's what I was told last week.
Kind of like James, I think you need to reach out to the other companies as well, prior before you call, you know, call this guy back. Have something in your pocket there, you know, kind of.
Sure.
See if we can't get them down to the best we can on the prices. I reckon this is something the council's gonna do. We've agreed to do it, I think it's just getting the right prices, getting the right units.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't really come with a complete quote, because I wasn't sure what sizes y'all wanted for the other areas.
So I'll give you this after the meeting.
Okay.
And then Gina can send.
I'll make some more phone calls tomorrow, and then I can get with her.
Judy, you got anything?
Yes, I was going to tell you, I gave everybody one of these. I had spoke to, I mentioned this last time, but I was going to try to get some information regarding this Lucas device that I had mentioned. And this is what he sent me with the prices. And he did say that he had a lot of cities that were using their COVID money to purchase this for their fire departments and their police departments. So I just want to know that. And because he asked me how many how many, and I think I didn't know. I personally would for sure, if possible, like to have one for the fire department, because they do respond on all 911 calls. I would love to have one for the police department too. They do respond on a lot of the calls also. But on the jumbo cruise, and this total price includes the device, the charger, and then the shipping.
18,000.
He said so far they have probably placed around 2,000 in Alabama.
Explain to them exactly what it is and what it does.
Well, would you want to explain? You might do a better job than me.
The Lucas device is constant CPR. I mean, look at the paper and see it.
Because it's this particular device.
Yeah. Basically, instead of having them go to CPR and Gary's back there, tell you more about the CPR, he's also an instructor.
Oh, I can see Gary back there. You might want to talk about it.
But I mean, it's a chest compression system. It's basically instead of having your one person do, you have a human doing CPR, in which a human is never going to be able to effectively do continuous compression at the right rate and the right depth. Because you're looking at having to go 100 to 120 compressions in a minute's time at 2/3 the depth of the chest. Depending on the size of the person, that's a lot of one human man. What this does is this will give constant compressions at the right rate, at the right depth, and free up another set of hands. Because when you are on scene of a cardiac arrest, which means their heart is not pumping, this will pump their heart to where you can have more hands getting our bag out, getting our ED set up on top of them, getting our ambu bag, helping breathe, helping the ambulance get their bag out, helping them start lines, getting what medicine they need out, getting their equipment they need out. A CPR event, if we have a true cardiac arrest, I would say 4 people is usually not enough. What do you say, Gary? The more the merrier. So this freeing up hands and doing constant CPR is having better outcomes. And I believe because me and Will have been pushing to get one of these, and there's some of the better success to have. Because the more compressions you can have, the more blood flow you can have going throughout the body with attached oxygen, the better outcome you have with it. And that's just what this is. This is giving your patients a whole lot better outcome of survivability, not just survivability, but without defects, than you would with just human CPR. Because it is doing more constant, because it don't get tired because it is the machine.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if one of us starts CPR, the only 2 reasons you can stop, and that's if somebody relieves you or if you exhaust you.
Right.
Yeah, what's 3? Exhaustion, which exhaustion means you better pass out with them.
Right.
Somebody of equal or higher care relieves you, or they spontaneously come back to life.
Oh, yeah.
But that is the 3 reasons why.
And the one thing that I can say is, in the back of an ambulance, where you said you need at least 4 people, it's very hard to get all the people that you need, especially when you're going to transport this person into an ambulance and then from there to a hospital. So,
Well, I've been there to where, and you know, it's nobody's fault, but just the way you have the way of the growth of the city and county, and then the growth of people want to call 911 for all kinds of reasons. To where you've been on a call and your truck is coming from Fayette, or it might be coming south of Fayette. Well, you're looking at 40 minutes of CPR. That's a lot on one person's body. I mean, you will take an Olympic bodybuilder that runs every day and works out religiously, and they will pass out quick.
It'd be 2 of us better.
Yeah.
well, you'll have an adrenaline rush for a good probably 15 minutes. That's about all I can go. And then you start getting tired. But in the back of an ambulance, it's very tight. And so this device, once it's placed on the patient, it goes with the patient. Like you can transport them into the ambulance and then from there to the hospital.
Yes, and there's different systems of this machine out there, but this is 5 bar the best. The Zoll part of it is more of a band, and we've had read reviews and talked to different departments and people that use them. They break. There was another one they found at the Chiefs Conference that almost looks identical to this, except the plunger part of it's different. Instead of a plunger to where you have a constant suction and a good compression rate with the chest going up and down, it's basically like you took the end of that chair and you're stabbing somebody with it. And this is by far the best one on the reviews and the outcomes that we've read.
Y'all usually carry the same truck on them calls?
Yeah, I mean, during the day when Chief and Dwayne's there, we tend to go on the pickup that way. We can not put as much strain on the pumper, but generally 9 times out of 10 we're in the pumper. And I believe that one is also how compact it can be, because it isn't like a backpack style. It's a lot easier to fit around and carry around. So if it was during the day and you knew it was going to be picked up, just throw it over it wasn't something that could be,
And
had to be
that's what
loaded around. It's,
this guy said that, he just did a deal with Jefferson County, and they placed 275. They put one of these in every police vehicle and on every fire vehicle in Jefferson County. Which they're a whole lot bigger, but this is something, I mean, it would be easily to, like you said, do they take the same truck? They could easily change it from truck to truck if, if they decided because it is very compact.
Do these have age or size limitations?
it says it on that packet. I think it fits 9 out of 10 people. So with the measurements, I mean, if you have somebody 600 pounds, I don't think it's going to fit them. But I believe talking to the ref, they said it would fit up to a 300 or 400 pound man. It would fit around them.
But I really think that we would benefit from having one of these devices. And he said that he could come and talk, bring, anything, bring a device, let us look at it, talk to us.
Todd volunteered for that.
Do what now?
Todd said to try to.
Probably won't get a volunteer, but he could probably show us how it works, if you want to see how it works.
Do you have to, when you set that thing up, do you have to program it, or does it self-sense?
It's got a play button. You put it on there, you hit play. It's like you're controlling a remote control. Play, start, stop.
Because as far
They've
as
simplified it a
CPR,
lot
it's the
because
same, yeah.
they know how we are. We like things simple. So it was designed for simple use, easy and simple use. The buttons, and that one's got the 3. It's where they went to that just pure the play pause button for the start stop. I believe it does some other features too. Gary, is that the one? Does the newest one? Does it syncs with the AED?
Yes.
It syncs up with it.
Yes.
It works in
Because he asked how old our AEDs were, what models, and I couldn't tell him. But he said it
the CCO controls. One of them's brand new. We just bought a new one.
Does it plug up to it, or?
I don't know whether it plugs up or not.
Oh, you're going to, if you do it properly, you're going to break ribs.
Yeah, you're gonna break ribs, so that's what I'm saying.
I guess this one breaks real too.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, if you ain't cracking, you're slaking.
Well, that's what I said, I was looking, shaking my head no when James said I'd volunteer, like, if it's doing it right, I ain't.
Yeah.
If you're doing effective CPR at the right rate, the right depth, you will crack somebody's ribs.
No, because you're actually trying to massage the heart.
Yeah.
So you have to break somebody else to get to it.
I'd give it a crack real. Yeah, that's what I just did.
All right, y'all heard that. Randy don't want to break ribs.
Tammy's got one of them good right here.
Yeah, it's not nice. The council will buy one to start off with the fire department, see how it does. It's the fire department, we respond to all medical calls, as well as the police. I think everybody, all of ours, everybody's responding when we get a call. I think, if we had one and placed it where we felt like we needed to know, the other department could see if it's something that would help and aid in what they're doing. We might look at, yeah. Any of the ambulances is in
Not our services now.
Lamar County's the one closest to us. That
Lamar
runs.
County's the only one that has one. And, you know, I've talked to several people that work in like the ER setting, and they do like to see patients coming in with a Lucas device on. Because, you know, we have taken patients to the emergency room, and if we start a CPR, I mean, somebody's got to still be doing chest compressions while they're doing other things. And with this device on, even when you go into a hospital setting, it stays on. And, I mean, we would get it back. You know, I'm not saying, you don't,
Trust me.
this is not something
we
you
would be
walk
with
off
that thing
and
until
leave.
it's time to go back.
Yeah, you wouldn't leave it.
My question, who's gonna be responsible once?
It would be whoever's on shift would not leave until that
Yes.
thing came back with you.
Yeah, this is not like a backboard that you're leaving. It's, yeah, it would be, returned to the department.
Generally, if we have a cardiac arrest event where it's CPR's in progress, we go on the call, we get there for ambulance, we're starting it, we initiate it. One of us, 9 times out of 10, is in the back of the truck riding with them, do compressions. We get to the ER, we get to be picked up, so we get in there and we continue to help them. Because in something, when you get to things like that, it's all hands on deck. Everybody works for the same goal. So we wouldn't leave until that machine went with us. Because we don't usually leave until they start breathing and they no longer need CPR, the doctor calls it.
And sometimes depending on, I mean, if it's a younger person, you may run a code for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Look at that, good.
It hasn't an extra battery.
Says 45 minutes.
I recommend this buy one, like I said, we'll start out putting it with the fire department, see how it does, and, see if other departments feel like we need it in their department. The motion from James, second. Jim, all in favor? Let's go ahead. Turn that into.
Well, I'll contact him tomorrow and get what paperwork we need or whatever.
Yeah, if you will, turn it over, let the fire department deal with it. You got anything else, Jimmy? Yes, we'll pay for it, take care of that. All right, nobody else got any, Gina, since you're here, how are we coming into part for our project, I'm going to call it the project that we got going on, revitalization and remodeling and sewer system, and just kind of give us an update if you can where you're back there.
They're working really hard. They've done a good job. The power's hooked up. The pump is working. We have one commode for the whole building now. For the unisex bathroom, we take turns. The tile has been ordered, but there has been a problem with getting it in. So it might be week after next before they can begin the tile work. But it can't be helped. I mean, that's just what we're living with supply and demand right now.
So everything's going pretty smooth for us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, on that, and then we got talked about, if you bring the quotes in for me, on the roof. We talked about maybe doing, metal roof instead of shingle roof with a standing seam, type metal with screws and stuff don't show. Kind of what I kind of had in mind is kind of match what we got on the tower, the clock tower here at Pastime. That's not the guy, the local company that does it, Northwest Bound Builders, don't do standing seam, the steeper roofs that way. So we had to reach out to Miller, which Miller has done. They do the standing seam, and they've placed bids on these other buildings that we're doing. They've turned in a bid on the shingles to do the community center building. Let's see what that is. That's what that roof, if you got, the original quote on the shingles. For the standards, for the shingles, it's 1 week with shingles and 1 month with metal. For the standard seam roof, metal standard seam is going to be the furnished material and labor complete in accordance with above specifications, which has got tear off old shingles decking, haul away, provide, install ice water shield underlayment over entire roof deck, provide, install standing seam metal roof, Central States Manufacturing, H-lock 26 gauge mechanically attached, grip edge metal with all eaves, Z closures, all hips and ridges, valley metal in all valleys, flash out penetration with matching metal, clean up the trash and haul away, provide a metal roof and 5-year warranty on the work performed, provide a metal central finish with it. Community center building, what's included, done at cost plus 15% basis, return at time of work performed. Decking unit costs 4 to 8 1/2-inch plywood, $100 per sheet if they have to replace any. To do the metal on the community center buildings, $197,460 to $197,460. To do the same type work here on this safe shelter is going to be $79,960. $79,960. They're bid on community center roof to do shingles. There's $57,200. $57,200. That'd do what the insurance. They may get other bids, but that their bid on doing the shingles. Maybe it's a lower bid that the insurance company uses, but that's what they're going to pay is based on these bids. What the insurance is going to pay to replace the shingles, because that's what they are. We'd be looking at $140 some odd $1,000 to go back with metal. And then safe shelter here, storm shelter is $24,750. 25,000 versus 80,000 to do the metal. I just wanted to kind of, see what the council's thoughts was on that. What would like you on the machine? What the warranty is on the shingle. I think it's standard. I think 25-year shingles. I think what they 25-year, and the type shingle that Miller was telling he was used on that. It's fade resistant. The stain resistant and fade resistant type shingle. How a lot of them look dingy and dirty looking. Those are the type shingles he's talking about using. It's supposed to not turn and color up like that. 20, 25 years.
5-year warranty. 5 years on it, like the material metal. Those are probably 40-year metal roofs, 40, 50 metal roofs.
That roof, Mike can tell me, he's been here, Todd, one of y'all two, Mike can tell me, Gina could, how long that roof's been on that shingle roof's been on that community center. I can remember it being replaced one time.
I've been with city 20 years, Mayor, and it was on there when I came. And I think it'd been maybe within 5 years of me coming, it had been replaced for a pretty good renovation project done on it.
You remember this one? This is one this is one they built this.
The original roof, and that was
built in 2009.
08, 09, yeah.
pay the difference and do metal, or go ahead and let them go back with shingle. It looked a lot like what Christian's got up here. Of course, it's a lot steeper, but.
I don't think you got a very good warranty right there on that.
Yeah.
I got a 20-year warranty on my roof.
Is that all you got on the metal roof?
Well, I mean, they're only giving 5.
Well, that's labor.
Labor, okay. Misunderstood.
Yes, that's their labor, but
Yeah,
the
20 years.
roof itself is about 25, 40.
warranty.
It's almost 4 times as much.
Sir?
It's almost 4 times as much.
We know, which, they're ready to start, by the way. They can start in 1 week, that's what I was saying, 1 week, I think, on the, 1 week on shingle, they can start it in 1 week. We don't have any leak, we don't have any roof leaks up there, do we, Chris, Regina? We not got a roof leak, that roof's
Yes,
not leaking.
it's leaks everywhere. We got buckets set out everywhere.
Okay, yeah.
I think as nice as it would look, it's too much money. I think we spent $140,000 somewhere else in the park.
Right, well, about, I mean, I agree with that, probably that's a little high, but, what's your thoughts on the storm shelter here, the difference on it, versus, what was it, $50,000 difference?
55.
And we got another roof here, this is a flat roof.
Yeah, this is the.
You can't see this roof. I really think the way Boyd's done all these buildings downtown, the way that all those buildings have went back, I think it really, and this roof that's going back on the grapevine, you won't be able to see it like you could before with the mud, you know, it was up 4 or 5 foot up in there. And I think that's going to end up being the case probably on the Nell's building as well. And I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of shingle or bad looking metal roofs on that.
I guess they've inspected that roof, and they probably know about, like they were talking about the leaks, they probably got an idea about how much decking is going to replace.
I don't think that they,
This one up here.
All of them that I saw walk the roof really well.
I figure from their quote, they probably got a sort of an idea how much decking it's gonna take. I think that's something right.
being those kinds of council members, pretty much decided to go back to shingle. So I remember. You know, stick with shingles on all of it. Y'all can go stay back with shingles on all of them. That's my opinion. That's no problem. I just wanted us to check it, you know, make sure. All right, that would be a problem. Okay, we're down there for it, we got that,
Repair work. So that's not.
I let Rob post a, position today that he hadn't filled. He went ahead and got somebody coming up. He's been about that hand.
So you don't want to say that's a cheap price.
Randy, we got that first. You know, Randy always left, and he hired a guy, and that guy didn't work out, and he had never replaced him. So I let him go ahead and repost that, because it's getting, so we're just gonna have to have another hand. Probably doing it here in the winter now. He posted that today.
Oh, yeah.
Part-time. On other old business, we discussed this subject a little bit. I don't think we really got as depth with it. It's a kind of a hot subject, seems like here lately in Hamilton. We're talking about the jail system. The county's wanting to build a new jail, or has reached out to build a new jail, or maybe it's got the process started. I don't know if anybody read the paper about 2 or 3 weeks ago. There's a few things that was in there that kind of bothered me a little bit, how what was said it made the paper. There's talking about, the cities could either pay now or pay later. They're going to pay one way or the other. I'm kind of bothered with how that went across or come across in the paper. We always try to do our part, and then talking about lockup fees and stuff. We have to go up on lockup fees with the county, the jail. They went up about 2 years ago already on lockup fees. Almost about 2 years ago, they went up on lockup fees. They started the process of doing this, planning to build the jail. They've got people out in the different areas in the communities or whatever, for a committee to try to come up with ways to pay and fund for the jail. And I felt like it's going at the end of things, if they was going to ask the cities to give toward funding the jail or come up with ways to help fund it, I felt like that the cities should have been involved from the get-go on helping to come up with a way to pay for building the jail. Went toward the end there, the mayor was invited to a meeting to sit in on a meeting about how to fund and pay for the jail. And one of the first things that was said is if we didn't come up with a way, that they would just pass something through legislation. And it didn't seem to be 3 or 4 weeks later that they passed something through legislation. And that was adding a lodging tax to the already lodging taxes that hotels has in the county. And now there's another 7.5 or 7% lodging tax added to the lodging taxes already, which upset a lot of the hotel owners because the bottom line has to make the nightly rate go up, and then it may, the tour business from them. It's not so much collection of taxes as what the total bill is when somebody pays to stay a night. That just didn't turn out to be a whole lot of money, I don't think, because we're still trying to find ways to pay for funding the jail system. I felt like that we could have worked together probably to come up with a better way to not make it so hard on each community or each city to do their part for paying for the jail. If we had worked together and done it as a county, as a city, and the county as a whole, instead of coming to the cities and to pay X amount of dollars. I think what they have kind of asked the city of Winfield to do is pay as much as we can, closest to what Hamilton, I think, had agreed to pay, which I think was around $250,000. I believe is how they do it, and that's kind of how they're looking at wanting us to pay. I don't think it's right to threaten us to do what we need to do for us doing our part to building the jail. I don't think that's the proper way to do it. We've got a city hospital, the city owns the hospital, we've got a city school system, and I don't think it'd be too far-fetched if we had a city jail system. I mean, I wanted to bring, that's old business, and it's something that we're gonna have to address at some point. The amount of money that we're paying X amount of money now for lockup fees for our prisoners when we take them up there. I've spoke a little bit, not in great detail with Brett, and I've had Brett. He's been helping and doing a little bit of checking and trying to get some figures and different things together for me for what we are paying and what we'd be looking at for as to pay. We're paying, which Mike or Angie one Mike can tell me, we're not only paying lockup fees, we're paying communication. Our communication, we got a communications bill that we use going through 49 base. I think it's almost as equal to the same amount we're paying back to the jail system. And an average, correct me if I'm wrong, but an average usually runs between $3,000 to $4,000 a month.
You're probably between the two combined 90 to 100,000 over the last few years. Locked up related fees and the 911 49 base.
I need
and it's my understanding, Mayor, that nothing was discussed about that being changed along with that $200,000.
yeah, I reckon that's what we're still going
I
to.
just wanted to address that because I spoke with Hamilton, and their lockup fees are going to be the same, and at any point in time they can go up just like they did this last time.
About 2 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Which I feel like it's kind of like it was when the county took away the hospital tax money. I kind of think that might have started back then for us trying to figure out ways to help pay for the jail when they took that hospital tax money away, because it had been interpreted one way ever since the time that it started, and then they got a second opinion on how that could be interpreted, and they said it could be interpreted different, and then they took the hospital tax dollars, a portion of it, away from the cities. That ended in a lawsuit of us having to file a lawsuit to get it back to get it correct to the way it was intended to do to start with. When the tax was when that tax was put in to get the cities on board, the cities had to get something out of it. That's how that, I think, how that come about to be to where the cities was getting their part of the tax money was where they'd vote on it to pass it for the purpose of what they was using it for. I just want the council to be, I don't know if you've read the paper or what, but that is a subject that we're going to have to address one way or the other in the very near future. I want the council kind of, which I know that we have because we've talked about it in the past and in different things, we need to figure out how we're going to address this situation. I am working to try to come up with things that I feel like that we might need to try to do to help our decision making. I think we need to pray about it for sure, how we're going to handle it. I mean, we finally, getting to where we feel comfortable with not having to borrow out of this account to put in this account to pay this one, and then back to doing the circle. We've finally been able to keep, where we make our payroll like we need to make it, and have money in the checking account like we need to have it. And if we go committing to $200,000 or $250,000 well a year to another project, it's going to hurt the way we operate.
That was about, what, 10 years?
Yeah, that's what they're asking.
Yeah, my understanding was 17%. Is that correct? 15 to 17% over a 10-year time.
But they said we paid 90 to 100 a year for lockup fees and the other fees.
The lockup and the 49 base.
And so if we're paying 200 a year, that's 300 That's $3 million in 10 years, right? We might do it. What can we build for 3 million?
I do a lot, 3 million, but I mean, you know, it may take, but you got employees, we don't have employees, you're going to have to look at different things that way. I just wanted you to, be doing some talking, some researching, and thinking how we need to address that situation. But I just don't think it's right that we'd be threatened. I don't think we need to be threatened into our decision.
Well, there's some incidental things too that we pick up on if we maintain our own jail system. We won't have police officers driving back and forth, burning an hour or two here and there, going back and forth to Hamilton, and spending gas and running hours up on the car and paying them for hours. So, I mean, it's not just those charges. There's incidental things that add to that. So that's something that the city needs to strongly look at and see if there's other ways to do it.
I've got a couple of meetings too, Mayor, set up that I haven't met yet. That I can, I'll have some more on about next council.
But that's going to be a hot subject for us for the next few months. So bear with me to come up with a plan, and I need y'all's help with it to how we're going to handle the situation.
And it was also said in the paper, now, this is something that concerns me as a chief, that they don't have to house there.
Well, that come up the last time. I mean, that's come up within the last year.
But it's one thing to say you're gonna pay one way or the other. You're gonna pay on the front end or you're gonna pay on the back end, but you're gonna pay. It's another thing for me when tonight if I get a call to the thing, you're not gonna bring folks up here.
See, that's what bothers me. If I'm a part of something, I'm a part of it,
Yes, it just caught me. It caught me by some big surprise. When I read it, it really took me back, and I went to doing some scurrying because that's not anything you want to hear.
Well, we experienced lockup fees going up. There was a letter sent to us. The fees are going to be this now. We had to pay it or go somewhere else.
Yes, sir.
I mean, wasn't no discussion or nothing. This is what it is. This is what you're going to do. I don't want hard feelings with the county. I don't want hard feelings, but I've got to look out the best interests of the city.
Yes, sir. Well, I mean, I don't want hard feelings with nobody.
You got me either.
But at the end of the day, I don't know how else to take that.
Anyway, that's going to be a subject that I'm going to be working hard on. On top of all the other stuff, that's going to be something that we're going to have to keep you posted as what we come up with and what I think our best options are and how we can pay for this or that or whatever. I don't think I've got any other old business. I would like for y'all to, of course, as high as fuel is right now, everything's went up. It's costing us more to patrol, and it's costing us more with fire, it's costing us more with park because of the prices of fuel and the gas. And I don't think that the revenue's going to increase just because the gas is increased. We're going to see a cut in our operating money because of the cost of what it's costing us to fuel the cars and the trucks.
Sales tax go down on what you want to say.
Yeah. Because it's gonna cost, when groceries goes up, it's gonna make the amount of goods sold probably gonna be lower because people's income didn't increase to help offset. They don't get a cost of living raise at home every time groceries and fuel and stuff goes up, so it's gonna cut, that's why the jail bill, because we're supposed to see a cut in the amount of money that comes into the city. It's gonna start having to play in effect, and I'm gonna be watching, what kind of revenue that we got coming in versus what we got going out. But I can tell you, 300 gallon of fuel, $1,500. Too long ago, you could buy it for $600.
Fuel surcharges went up on transportation about 34% last week.
Yeah.
It will change again tomorrow.
Yeah. And I have, seen it come down a little at the rack. Gas dropped. I think gas dropped a little bit here yesterday or today. I think I seen it go down a nickel or so. It's not a little more, but fuel hasn't come down. That's one thing that we've got to take into consideration as well. But I don't think I've got any other old business. If nobody else has any other business, I need to ask for the next item on the agenda is pay the bills. Motion. Second. All in favor? All right, I'm going to need to ask the council to let me go into executive session for a few minutes to discuss the good name and character of an individual. We won't be taking any action. We'll come back out. So that'll be pretty much the end of the council meeting. I need to ask for a motion to go into executive session. Second. All in favor?
Hello, I'm Chuck at Span Hardware and Equipment, Winfield, Alabama. So happy to be with you today and would like to tell you about all the things we have for the upcoming spring season. We've got you covered if you want chainsaws, weed trimmers, lawnmowers, zero-turn regular lawn tractors. We also have a good selection of barbecue grills, so come see us. Thank you.
State Bank and Trust has been invested in Winfield and Marion County for more than a century. And today, we remain deeply committed to meeting the needs of local families and businesses with excellent financial products and friendly down-home service.
But more than that, we're dedicated to supporting the growth, success, and well-being of our community as a whole. Because when it comes right down to it, there's nothing more important than community.
And just like our outstanding city officials, police, and fire departments, you can count on State Bank and Trust to help make Winfield and Marion County a great place to live for everyone who calls this area home.